order this evening's council meeting. Today's March 5th. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Brinkman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Valdez?
Present.
Councilmember Cole?
Here.
Councilmember Driscoll?
Here.
Councilmember Elrod?
Here.
Councilmember Fay?
Here.
Councilmember Schlachter?
Here.
Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, any changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to public comment. If you wish to address the council under public comment, please sign in on the speaker form. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. The City Council is not authorized by the Colorado Open Meetings Law to discuss, comment, or take action at the meeting on any issue raised by public comment that is not part of tonight's agenda. We may refer the matter to staff to obtain additional information and report back to council as appropriate. Thank you. We have one speaker signed up, Pam Chadbourne.
Good evening, Council. My name is Pam Chadbourne. I live a block and a half from here. So a couple of items. One is the resignation of the city attorney, and I've just had occasion to speak to a few folks recently on council, on staff, and, you know, I'm sure that was difficult, but I'm glad, and thank you for getting that resignation. Personally, I felt that Mr. Kemp, I'm sure he's a fine guy and would suit many cities fine. I don't think he was good for our city, and there were many problematic products, in my opinion. So thank you for getting that resignation. Secondly, I wanted to talk about the February 15th breakfast of council with South Metro Housing Options, specifically Geneva Village. And some points were made, which is Littleton Housing Authority, SMHO, has managed Geneva Village for the city since 1971. Currently, they're losing $30,000 a year. Their assessment is that that's largely due to deferred maintenance. And there was a physical needs assessment a couple of years ago, which decided that this deferred maintenance was part of the cause of the expense and the loss. So the SMHO board said they decided they couldn't continue to subsidize Geneva Village, and they extended an invitation to the city and city council to work with us to develop a game plan and strategy. And one of the people made a comment that it wants to be redeveloped. I take huge exception to that. I'm sure that there is not agreement about that in the city, and I don't think it wants to be redeveloped. However, I didn't hear anybody bring up this, and that is during the Michael Penny regime, Michael Penny took money out of the Geneva Village Fund, hundreds of thousands of dollars set aside by our charter for Geneva Village maintenance. Has that ever been restored? No. And that wasn't brought up at all. So there is an option here which no one mentioned and which I would like staff to bring forward to you to talk about restoring the maintenance funds that had been set aside by the taxpayers for that purpose to Geneva Village maintenance. We need to examine that. I think that's due diligence. I think that's your obligation. So there are other alternatives, and it's a bad time to redevelop Geneva Village for that. Thanks very much. Bye.
No one else has signed up. Is there anybody who would like to come down? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. Move to consent agenda. Consent agenda items can be adopted by a simple motion. All ordinances must be read by title prior to a vote on the motion. Any consent agenda item may be removed at the request of a council member. Ordinance 6, first introduction of an ordinance amending Ordinance 39, Series 2018, known as the Annual Appropriations Bill. Ordinance 7, first introduction of an ordinance amending 2019 Littleton Sewer Utility Enterprise Budget. Ordinance 8, first introduction of an ordinance amending the 2019 Littleton Stormwater Flood Management Utility Enterprise Budget. Resolution 15, this is endorsing an application by the city for funding from the Arapahoe County Open Space Grant Program for improvements at Harlow Park. Resolution 16 is a resolution authorizing an application to the Arapahoe County Open Space Grant Program for playground renovations at Options Secondary at Whitman School. Resolution 19 is a resolution authorizing an application to the Arapahoe County Open Space Grant Program for planning grant for Reynolds Landing. Ordinance 5 is a first introduction of an ordinance amending the Broadway County Line Commercial Center Plan Development, which is AutoNation Ford, entitled The Sixth Amendment to Broadway County Line Commercial Center PD. ID 19-062 is a motion to approve authority, board, and commission appointments. And item 19-036 is approval of the February 5th, 2019 regular meeting minutes. I need a motion and a second, please.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through I.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ready to vote?
The vote is 7 in favor. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, now we are at general business. This is a resolution, Resolution 20, adopting the City Council travel and reimbursement policy. Go ahead.
Maybe now I am.
There you go.
There we go. Great. Thanks. Tonight, let me introduce myself. I'm Earlene Rich, Accounting Manager in the Finance Department, standing in for Tiffany Hooten. I think she's having a lot more fun than we are tonight, most likely. You have before you a resolution adopting the City Council travel and reimbursement policy. This was discussed during your council study session on February 12th. 2 changes have been made since then. Both of them in Section C, Paragraph 1, which is titled Other Expenses Eligible for Reimbursement. We've added language to the first sentence that says, but not limited to, and we've added language for the Fair Campaign Practices Act in the second sentence. We'd also like to make an administrative clarification that if approved, this policy would be administered to include citizen engagements, no matter the size, whether it's 1 person or 50, or at a small private setting or larger event settings. This policy would be distinguished from business meeting expenses where council members may be representing the city in a larger capacity, such as specific committees, task forces, and/or larger targeted public meetings. In these cases, expenses would be classified as a business expense budgeted within the city council budget. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions?
I just want to make a comment. So thank you for that added language. That was a request that I had made based on our last study session about just getting some clarification of the different ways that each council member may interact. So thank you for adding that language, that it does give a lot more flexibility and breadth to, reach out as council members as is comfortable and as we all individually do. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Need a motion, please.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 20-2019, adopting the City Council travel and reimbursement policy.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any conversation, discussion? Ready to vote?
The vote is 7 in favor. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we have no ordinance on second reading or public hearings this evening, so we will go to comments and reports. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Now that the council has approved your appointments to the boards and commission, we actually have 2 vacancies that we still need to fill, and I've asked the city clerk here to prepare a draft agenda, and I'd like to share that. So, City Clerk.
Okay. We have 1 resignation from the museum board. His name's Jonathan Goldstein. And council also has 1 seat available on the Board of Adjustments. And our plan is to advertise starting March 6th for 1 museum board member and 1 Board of Adjustment member. The applications will be due April 3rd. Staff will provide the applications to council by April 4th. And then the interviews will be held on April 9th at the beginning of the study session. And we chose this date because there's nothing on the study session at this time. So I don't imagine that it'll be real long with the interviews because we'll specifically advertise for those 2 seats. So there won't be 30 of them or anything. Does that work for City Council?
Karina.
We're also advertising for the next Generation Advisory Committee. Is that happening at the same time? So we're...
Yes, it is kind of happening at the same time. April 4th will be the interviews for the next generation, and the applications close on March 22nd. And we've received 17 applications so far.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
And Council, will Mark and I go through the agendas. I think we do have a couple things that we are looking at possibly putting on that night, but we'll make sure that if we get, depending on the amount of applicants we get, if we do need to do a special meeting and come in for a couple hours one night and do the interviews, we'll give you guys plenty of notice. Otherwise, we'll try to fit it into the first thing on that study session, I think. Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else, Mark?
No other reports.
City Attorney.
Mr. Fellman sends his regrets that he can't be here tonight, but I have no other report.
Thank you. Councilmember Cole?
No report.
Councilmember Driscoll?
No report.
Councilmember Valdez?
Yes, the Envision Littleton event, Mark, I thought was, our city manager, I think was well done. please pass on the well done to your staff. And for the 80, about 80 citizens, I think, showed up for that. And I expect the next event will probably have at least 80 more. So those that didn't make it, try to make it. You may need a bigger room next time because that was pretty full. So, all right. So anyway, good job.
I can do it.
Kyle?
All right, I've got several items to report to council. First, RTD announced their results of the second tier of their feasibility study for bus rapid transit. The Broadway-Lincoln route is one of the routes that would affect Littleton that has moved on from Tier 2 to Tier 3. So they're going to continue looking at that, see how that works in the broader scheme. It was actually in the upper third of the route study, so there's a good chance that it'll keep moving along. A week or two ago, I attended a social gathering of the former residents of the Windermere over at the Methodist Church there. There was a great article about it in the Littleton Independent. It was the first time those residents have actually all seen each other in a social setting since the fire, so it was nice to see them and talk to them and see how they're doing. They're still trying to find places to live. Some of them are still in a hotel, but they're looking to be back into new housing soon. Last week I attended the LPS board meeting to report on the Next Gen Advisory Committee. The board and the superintendent's office were very enthusiastic about the opportunity to get some of the students in there, and I know I've heard from individual staff members at LPS that are interested in serving that are in that age group too, so it's not just limited to students there. I attended the museum board last night. The attendance is tracking just a little bit lower than the last couple of years, but the last 2 years have been record highs. So the director of the museum is not too worried about that, but if it keeps tracking that way, I'm sure he'll start biting his fingernails. On March 23rd is Dairy Days at the museum, so there'll be staff will be educating the community about the dairy industry with cheese and butter and homemaking ice cream. So that'll be a fun day for that. And then I just want
Your outlet being from Wisconsin.
Yeah. I eat cheese by the pound. And then finally, I just wanted to recognize the South Metro Fire Rescue firefighter Cody Mooney, who passed away. I don't know if you saw the news articles about that. He lost his battle with a brain tumor. His wife has 4 children and expecting the 5th one on the way. So I just wanted to have him in our thoughts and prayers there. So, and that's all I have.
No report? Karina?
This Saturday, a few of us many of us, I think, attended the community event at Graceful Cafe that was sponsored by Littleton, and what a great opportunity to just sit, talk with many different members of our community. So good to see fellow council members, their families, and the community there was really well attended, and just this is the first event that I had been to, and that was really, really nice. The other update is, as Kyle talked about, the Broadway corridor being on the list. So there are the 3 projects that have been submitted to the TIP. Keith Reister sent us an email just letting us know that these are the 3 projects that were submitted to DRCOG to be included in the list for consideration as we're going through the funding process out of DRCOG. So more to come on that. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. I just wanted to add on to Kyle's. There is a memorial service for Cody on Friday at Mission Hills, and I believe it's at 1 o'clock. And I do believe that he was Littleton Fire Rescue, member of our team until the merger, obviously. And then I had one other thing. I guess it was not that darn important because I have forgotten it. Oh, I know. I have had the opportunity to go visit a couple of our larger employers in the community, one being CenturyLink and the other being today visited with National Republic, and actually got a tour. And I'm just still like in shock of what is actually going on over there and what they do and the enormity of it. And they are looking at the potential to even double. They have, no, at National Republic. CenturyLink still is a little coy about telling us how many employees they have, somewhere between 2,000 and 3,500. There's just a little range there. But part of the conversation that we were having with them was about engaging them in some more civic activities as large employers that would, we're looking for opportunities for them to become more part of the community. And while we're having these conversations, it became really clear to me that one of the things that would be, I think, really beneficial not only to council but also to the community and also to these businesses is to have a kind of a meeting, a gathering, a grouping, I don't know what the right word would be, not really a symposium, maybe a public open house or some sort where there's an opportunity to have a story from these guys and what they're doing and what their impact on Littleton is and how many people they're employing and the services that and this would be, I think, an opportunity for council to really have a learning about what's going on, and particularly as we're doing the comp plan. These things are so important. When you talk to CenturyLink, they didn't realize that they were one of the primary users of our hotels. And that triggered for them how much out of town people are coming in. And so we started talking to them about what are some additional opportunities that we could do to help support them with that. National, they have a whole program that they do with a lot of different charitable organizations. And the only charitable organization in Littleton that they support right now is Colorado Center for the Blind. But they are open to many other things. They're looking at going from 500 to 1,000 employees in about a year and a half. And they've already expanded. They've already more than doubled the space that they're in, and they want to stay here. This is their singular location in Colorado. They're a southern company, and we're their most northwestern state. It's big, it's huge. I think that there's an opportunity, and so what I'd like to do, and I would like council's blessing to work with Mark and Kelly, we've kind of been touring around and kind of pinpoint maybe the top 10 to 15 employers and have put together an event that would include an opportunity for us to have a conversation with them and then to also get many presentations on what they're doing as it relates to Littleton. Timing on it, not certain, but it's one of those things that would probably require a little bit more staff time than a normal little, hey, by the way, could you? So I wanted to bring it to staff and see if you guys had some interest in that. Certainly Mark and or I would be coming back and saying, hey, talk to staff and this is what it looks like it would take in terms of time and resources, and then see if there was still an interest, but at least to get that ball rolling. Everybody okay with doing that?
As long as Breckenridge Brewery's on there, I'm good with it.
I have a comment on that. So I would like to see that, as you said, as part of the comprehensive plan, as another data element that we become aware of the different businesses, how they're contributing. So as we talk about the economic development plan, as part of the process, it's kind of part of that. So it feeds into what we're already looking to do.
Yep. Okay. All right. Sounds good. More work, Mark. Okay. Okay. So we are going to adjourn, and then at 7 o'clock, we will convene in the community room for study session.